How I went from broke to millionaire. If you had told me 10 years ago that I'd be a millionaire, I would have laughed, asked for a dollar, and then used that dollar to buy a cup of instant ramen. I was that broke. Not just tight on cash broke. I was living in a camper with no car, no phone, no computer, and 6 kids broke. If there was a financial rock bottom, I was not only there, I was using it as a mattress. It's funny how life works though, because somehow, despite my best efforts to remain financially clueless, I accidentally figured out how money works. And before I knew it, I had made my first million. Not by inheritance, not by winning the lottery, and certainly not because I was some kind of financial genius. Nope, it happened because I learned a few key lessons, worked my butt off, and, let's be honest, got lucky in all the right ways. This is the story of how I got there, what I learned, and why I'm still the same guy who forgets to cancel free trials before they start charging. The poor man's mindset. My early relationship with money growing up. Money was always this mysterious thing that other people had and I didn't. My financial education consisted of watching adults stress about bills and learning how to stretch a single paycheck across a month of expenses. I believe that money was scarce, difficult to earn, and even harder to keep, kind of like a really flaky friend who only shows up when you don't need them. So when I entered the working world, I did what many people do. I made just enough to get by and spent everything I earned. 6-figure income? Check. Paycheck to paycheck lifestyle? Also check. Savings? What savings? My bank account looked like it was permanently on a diet. For years I repeated the cycle, convinced that financial stability was just a myth reserved for rich people and accountants. But then life, in all its unpredictable glory, gave me a wake-up call. It came in the form of a divorce, a bank account that looked like a bad joke, and a realization: if I wanted to give my kids a decent life, I had to get my financial act together. A new approach. Learning how money actually works. I wish I could say that I had a grand, life-changing epiphany one night, but the truth is, I just got desperate enough to start reading books about money. I devoured everything I could find. Books, articles, financial talk shows, anything that explained why some people seem to thrive financially while others, like me, struggled. Here's what I discovered. Budgeting isn't a punishment. It's a pay raise. Once I started budgeting correctly, I felt like I had suddenly gotten a raise. I wasn't making more money, I was just using it better. Turns out, when you stop spending money on things you don't need, you magically have more of it. Shocking, right? Debt is the opposite of wealth. I had $25,500 in debt, and in 8 months, I wiped it out. It wasn't easy. I had to say goodbye to takeout, impulse buys, and the idea of having a social life. But every dollar I put toward debt was a dollar I could eventually use to build wealth instead of making some bank CEO's yacht payment. Investing is how money makes money compound interest became my new best friend. It's basically financial magic. Money begets more money if you leave it alone long enough. I started putting money into the stock market, not trying to beat it, but simply to ride the long-term wave. Spoiler alert, it works better than stuffing cash under your mattress. Skills pay the bills. I realized that I had spent years making other people rich by identifying gaps in their industries and fixing them. If I could do that for my employers, why not do it for myself? It was like a light bulb went off, except instead of illumination, it was the realization that I had been playing myself for years, the accidental millionaire moment at. This point, I had absorbed all this financial wisdom, but I still wasn't rich. That all changed when I stumbled upon a golden opportunity. I was working at a commercial truck repair shop, and one day I noticed a part we used all the time was only made in America. That meant it was expensive and had limited suppliers. I saw an opportunity. So I did what any broke, ambitious, slightly insane person would do. I started researching factories overseas that could make the same part at a fraction of the cost. Here's where it got wild. I made 1,200 cold calls to truck dealership groups across the country. Yes, my phone bill was ridiculous. A big player agreed to buy 6 months' worth of parts from me at a 60% discount. I took 30% upfront, which was enough to cover my costs and place my first order. I stored the extra parts under my camper because, well, I didn't have a warehouse, and my landlord probably would have frowned on me using the living room. I packed and shipped orders during my lunch breaks and late at night, like some kind of broke Batman, but for truck parts. I had officially entered the world of business, and it was brutal. The future, more business, more fun, and maybe a nap. So what's next? I'm expanding into new industries, mentoring up-and-comers, and making sure my money works for me, not the other way around. Oh, and I might take a vacation, because for once, I can actually afford one without checking my bank account 6 times. Moral of the story, getting rich isn't the finish line, it's just another starting point. And honestly, the journey is way more fun than the destination. The end, for now. If I ran out of stock, customers would go somewhere else, and I'd be done faster than a Netflix show that doesn't get renewed. The moment everything changed. By year 8, things had leveled out. I had built a war chest of capital, meaning I could finally breathe. The business was growing, expanding into new niches, and dominating the market. My revenue hit 8 figures, and my net profit margins were above 80%. At some point, I did a net worth calculation, and it hit me. I was a millionaire. No lottery ticket, no get-rich-quick scheme, just years of working smart, taking risks, and making a lot of mistakes along the way. But here's the thing. Money doesn't magically make life easier. If anything, it comes with new problems like taxes, investments, and figuring out how not to blow it all on dumb stuff. So, you're a millionaire. Now what? Becoming a millionaire by accident is like finding out your favorite dive bar just won a Michelin star. It's exciting, confusing, and no one knows exactly what to do next. When I hit that 7-figure net worth, I expected champagne corks to pop and for Morgan Freeman to narrate my success story. Instead, I just stared at the number on the screen and thought, huh? Now what? Here's the thing about money. Getting it is one thing, but keeping it, that's a whole different rodeo. And let's just say, I got bucked off a few times. The rich man's problems that no one warns you about. The world paints this picture of millionaires living in luxury, sipping rare whiskey while getting foot massages from people with PhDs in relaxation science. Reality? I was still eating cereal out of the box and trying to figure out why my business expenses looked like a toddler had been randomly mashing buttons on a calculator. Here are some delightful financial disasters I ran into after becoming rich. Taxes will smack you like a brick wall. When you're broke, you get excited about a tax refund. When you're a millionaire, the government treats you like an ATM. That first big tax bill nearly sent me into cardiac arrest. I called my accountant and asked if I could pay in Monopoly money. He laughed. I wasn't joking. Everyone assumes you're Jeff Bezos. The moment people caught wind of my success, I started getting messages from long-lost relatives, old high school classmates, and even a guy I barely knew who wanted me to invest in his can't-fail cryptocurrency for organic dog treats. Spoiler, I did not invest. Spending becomes a weird psychological game. Before, I couldn't afford the nice things. Now I could. But did I really need them? Did buying a $5 coffee make me a financial idiot? Would Jeff Bezos hesitate to buy guac at Chipotle? I overthought everything. Learning to use money wisely after some dumb decisions. Once I realized I couldn't just wing it, I had to get serious about handling my money. Here's what I learned. If you don't control your money, it controls you. Money doesn't automatically mean freedom. I had to start budgeting again, not because I was broke, but because now the numbers had extra zeros, and I didn't want to burn through it like a rookie lottery winner. Investing is a marathon, not a sprint. I'd done well with stocks, but now I had to think bigger. I started diversifying, real estate, index funds, even dipping a toe into angel investing. Turns out most startup pitches are just expensive PowerPoints with a dream. Business growth needs strategy, not just hustle. I'd spent years grinding, but to sustain and scale my business, I needed structure. That meant hiring smarter people, automating where I could, and resisting the urge to micromanage everything like a paranoid squirrel hoarding acorns. The moment I almost lost it, No great story is complete without a disaster. Mine came in year 9 of running my business. Everything was great until supply chain issues hit. Factories overseas shut down, shipping costs skyrocketed, and suddenly I was back in survival mode. I had 2 choices, panic and pray, or adapt and strategize. I chose the latter. I started sourcing locally, renegotiating contracts, and building a safety net to ensure this wouldn't happen again. It was a reminder that no matter how much money you have, smart decision-making is what keeps you in the game. What I know now that I wish I knew then. After all the highs, lows, and tax-induced panic attacks, here's what I'd tell my past self and anyone trying to build wealth. Money is a tool, not a goal. Becoming a millionaire won't automatically make you happy. It gives you options, but if you don't know what to do with them, you'll just be a stressed-out rich person. Invest in skills, not just stocks. The biggest return on investment isn't in Bitcoin or real estate. It's in learning valuable skills that make you indispensable. That's what got me here in the first place. Financial freedom means choices, not excess. I don't live in a mansion or drive a gold-plated sports car. For 6 years, I reinvested every penny back into the business. I made good money, but I wasn't living like a millionaire. I was just trying to keep up with demand. I wasn't in the sales business. I was in the capital and inventory business.